Hey, what is up, everybody? We got Nick, we got Julius in. That not Julius. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You know it's him. Hey, you guys know me as Gunner Morning Works, and we're live. How's it going, everybody? This is part 2 of the 1/72nd scale Hasegawa Gerwalk VF1D Macross commission project, that is. So, hey, we got another one in there. What's up, Ultraman? How you doing, bud? So, I'm getting to the point where I've got to start doing a paint stage. So I don't have a lot to do tonight. Hopefully maybe it'll be a short stream, maybe not. We'll see. I got a little bit, some assembly to do, but what I thought at the last minute here, I might do on camera, which I wasn't going to, but I will. If you remember when we started this kit, there's in the canopy, there is a seam line going down the center of the canopy, or mold line down the center of the canopy. So I can actually show how to eliminate that, how to get rid of that. So it's a little bit of a process, but we can dive into that. So you're wet sanding your kit, huh? Nice. Julius is wet sanding. That's cool. I'm not gonna be wet sanding, but I will be using polishing compounds from Tamiya, and I'll show those just in a minute here. So let's go down to the bench. I did a lot of seam fixing earlier this week. You can see everything's just kind of exploded here. Got the arm pieces here. These are a little bit of a process to assemble, because there's actually, I think I'll just go down to the close-up here and we'll start talking about it. So here's the polishing compounds. Start with coarse, go to fine, and then your finished compound. There are 3 different compounds, but that is after you actually do the sanding part. So this will be done last. We're going to start with, I'll have to dig them out here because again, this was a last-minute decision. So I have a microfiber cloth, which I will be using for that polishing. But what we'll do is we start with some pretty high grit sanding sponges and just take down that ridge on the middle of it, and then start polishing from there. And then we use these at the end to do the final. And if it's done right, we shouldn't see any line, and it should look just like nice clear glass. The nice part about this is if you don't get it the first time, you can always go back and redo the process and polish it even more. So I'm going to try to see if you can see that. It's kind of a faint line. I'm trying to use the glare. You can see that kind of a ridge right down the middle. And that's just the mold line from, when the injection molding was done. I love the chat. Hey, Nigel, what's going on? Thought you said you weren't going to make it. And all of a sudden, here you are. Or you thought you might not, but here you are. So, you can kind of see that it's just a kind of a sharp line right down the center as I roll, using that glare on the lens as a guide. You can see that line. That's what we're going to get rid of. But first, I'll set this aside. Set the compounds aside. So I have a little bit left to do here. I will go over some of the stuff I've done this week. A lot of these are on skewers already, ready for paint. Last week we got rid of all of those injection pin marks, at least the ones we were working on at the time. This is part of the upper leg, and there is a seam that goes right down the center of these. I mean, most of these parts have a seam right down the middle. So there's a lot of seams that have to be addressed there. Do you polish both inside and outside? No. Nigel, only the top I would polish, because I'm trying to get rid of the seam. Or that, I keep saying seam, I'm sorry. It's that mold line is what I'm getting rid of. There's no real need to polish the inside because, first of all, it's very hard to get to. And the mold line is only on the outside, as far as I know. I don't think it goes all the way through. Now you got me curious. Let's see if we can. I'm going to use the tip of a skewer here to see if I can feel that line. No, it's only on the top side. So we only have to do one side of it. Anyway, so what I was talking about just a second ago is this, what you're looking at is some plastic strip that I had cut down to, because there was a raised detail right in the center of this and a seam line going right down the middle. So rather than trying to sand all these different heights and surfaces, it was just easier to sand it completely down, take off this raised detail, and then just replace it with some plastic strip. And that's what we did. So you can see right there. And it's the same size. I just took a strip of plastic that was the same width, trimmed it down to the trapezoid shape that it was, and just laminated it essentially with some thin cement, and that should take care of that. And then sanded it a little bit after that. So all of those parts that worked on yesterday from the leg last week, those are all the legs are on skewers and ready to go. Got a lot of the arm pieces here. There was again another seam right down the middle of these. All this has been addressed and sanded. We'll know for sure once we hit them with the first wave of primer and see if there's any fixes we got to do after that. I usually use the back of a scalpel blade and intentionally scrap a canopy. Oh, scrape or scrap? Scrap the canopy seam lines with a compound. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're talking about here. I don't use the back of a scalpel blade, but I mean, I guess you could, if it was a really, really big scrape. That's what I thought. I guess if it was a really big ridge, I could see using the blade to do that. I don't think this one really needs that. It's really not that high. It's not raised up that much. You can fill it with your fingernail, but it should go away pretty easily. I may take the time before sanding, and I might rescribe the support here in the center of the canopy that goes across the frame, basically, of the canopy that goes across the middle. I may scribe those lines really quick just to get them slightly deeper, so when we do our sanding, they don't disappear completely. But first, I'm going to finish the assembly. I've got all the hands here. These are all different variations of hands. The only one I have left is the closed hand that goes around the gun pod grip. I'm still trying to figure out if I want to try to glue this together first and then insert it into the handle, or assemble it around the gun pod, and then I'm going to have to do some masking and painting and everything around the hand. So we'll figure that out later. So we're just going to build the gun pod right now. So, and then we'll get to the polishing compound and stuff like that later. So what I'm going to do first, though, is I'm going to go through and get all of my polishing sponges out. I've got quite a few with very, very high grade. Some of these are like 6,000, 8,000. There's a 4,000. We'll use these all in sequence. There's even a 10,000. I think I have a thicker one on 10,000. If not, I'll just use that. But that's getting a little bit high. I don't think we need to go that high, but we will definitely be using the 4,000 and the 6,000. And then, of course, the standard ones, 800. Be using that. They'll be using that to take down a majority of that ridge, and then when it's gone, I think we can start with actually 600 probably. Might go down to 400, but I don't think that's necessary. 600 will probably be a good place to start, or even 800, and then we'll go up from there. So I'll set those aside so we can do that later. Lovely chat, people. Yep. Did I miss anybody? I don't think so. Oh, Giovanni just jumped in. I saw him. I didn't see that earlier. How you doing, Giovanni? You were third or fourth in there. Write that comment. All right, let's get going here. So gun pod's actually fairly complicated. It has a couple of polycaps inside because it is able to. You were able to close it and put it in the mode, so you can actually have it mounted on the side of the arm, or you can have it extended. And there's actually the polycaps inside, so you can actually do that depending on what you want to, how you want to display it. And that's why I'm building all the different hands, because You can either have it, held, or you can have it stowed on the arm. You can even have some of the hands open or some of them closed. There's like 3 left hands here, which is interesting. One of them's open. This one's used for holding the gun pod. Then you get just a relaxed open hand, a couple of closed fists. So I'm going to build them all, take care of all those seams, and then we'll go from there. Many years ago, what do we got here? Many years ago, I purchased a Micromesh brand polishing set. 1,000 to 12,000. I've been using it for 15 years now. I actually have some wet dry polishing paper, which would actually probably work really well too, because I used it on the LFA build when I was doing that car model. I wanted to be able to wet sand the paint, the clear coats, and really get all of the imperfections out. And that might work for this too, but we'll start with just what I have with the compounds and stuff like that. We'll see. We'll go from there. If I got to go to the polishing paper, I can do that too. But for now, I think we're good. Finished HD Desolter. The camo pattern came out good. Yeah, I did see that. That was very good, Giovanni. That was very good. He sent me some pictures of that. So, like I said, I've got to start priming things and painting things. So we'll see how much we get done this weekend. It's going to be kind of busy for me. It's my birthday on Friday, so we got some stuff going on most days of the week. So we'll see how much I can get done this weekend. Yeah, I may have to just do a build night or something. That won't be anything associated with this project. If everything's in primer or paint, there may not be anything to build or anything I can really do effectively on camera. With the arms here, they go together. They actually do have a decent press fit, but you can see this little dark area. It's enclosed on the outside of the arm. I've also gone and rescribed all of the lines that go across these seam lines ahead of time, so that way when we go to sand everything down, we won't completely eliminate our panel lines there. The tricky part is there's a small bulb. Essentially, it's like a little bulb here. You can see this little guy on the end of a skewer. That goes right in the center. But also there is a clear lens that's supposed to go in right on top of this. So you actually have to assemble it. Let's see if I can separate this. You have to put the lens in first. You have to put the bulb in, then the lens, and then put the other half together. So that, in and of itself is kind of uniquely challenging, because now I've got this clear glass lens that I don't want to get damaged. I got to do some sanding around it. So what I'll probably do is insert the glass and then mask it off. So if I do any sanding around it, hopefully that will protect it enough. It's blowing me up. Oh. Anyway. So we're going to set that aside. Happy returns. Oh, that's right. It's also SCGMC. You are correct. Thank you. Thank you for the birthday wishes, guys. I appreciate that. Look at that mess here. Oh, very cool, Geo. Love the camouflage. Yep. Thank you, Julius. I appreciate that. Yeah, we all have November birthdays, right? Yeah, SCGMC event. Unfortunately, I won't be able to go. That's on Sunday this year. I won't be able to go yet again. Plus, with the government shutdown and all the flights getting canceled or delayed or whatever, it's kind of. I'm wondering if it's even possible to even get down there and get back without a hitch. I've heard a lot of people are having issues with flights, not necessarily G3, not necessarily. That's not necessarily getting canceled, but or they're just running out of people to do the jobs properly. So, anywho, all right. So we got G3. Here we go. Now I got the right runner. And we got a polycap coming, and then also, so it's actually, I was talking about this kit earlier. There's a lot of extra runners that have quite a few extra parts. So it's actually another gun pod that's assembled. Looks like it's probably for fighter mode. So it's designed to be assembled and mounted. It doesn't actually open. So we won't be using that. Another thing I won't be putting on right now is there's like a harness, kind of a shoulder strap that is attached to the heel of the gun, and it goes up to the front. I'll put that on later after I get everything assembled, get all the seams taken care of, and then when we go to do our final paint there. Thanks, Giovanni. I went back to the MG Zeta 2.0. Also snapping a 40K interceptors. Nice. Very cool. All right, so let me continue cutting out some parts here. So I need a polycap right away. I'm surprised at how many we're actually using. I thought, there would only be a few, but there's quite a few. And mostly it's for all the articulation in the legs. There's quite a bit of that. So I'm just going to get this gun pod assembled, and we'll get it glued together and set it aside. That way it can start curing, and then I'll worry about those seams later. In the meantime, we'll work on the canopy. So it might be a little bit of a shorter stream tonight, only because, like I said, we're just getting to the point where I've got to start priming stuff. I got to start painting things, and I'm running out of things to actually assemble. So first, we're going to do the back half here. Oh, that's these two pieces. That's right, 13 and 12. And this is the portion that allows the gun pod to extend or retract, depending on how you want to display it. I'm assuming Giovanni's probably going to have it in the hand. I guess I should ask up front before I build the hand around the trigger if it's going to be mounted to the arm or not. It's probably a good idea. But I'm pretty sure, if I know Giovanni, he's going to want him holding the gun pod, not mounted to the side of the arm. A little less dynamic, I think. So if you're listening, Giovanni, tell me what you want right now. If not, send me a message. We can take care of it that way. But that way you can let me know. You want him holding the gun pod, or you want it mounted to the side of the right arm? That'll tell me how to assemble all this. Unfortunately, there's no way to build the hand like this one with the trigger hand here. There's no way to assemble it and then insert the gun pod later because of basically the trigger finger. It extends so far across. What I did with the 120 Gerwalk that I built, I actually cut the finger off so I could slide the gun pod on, and then I glued the finger in place. I pinned it and glued it that way. That way I could paint everything ahead of time without not having to mask around this fist and a finger. I was able to just assemble the entire gun pod and put the LED in it and do all that. Painting on camera is difficult. I have tried it a couple times. Yeah. The thing is that the painting is not the issue. My compressor is fairly quiet. But the thing is that my spray booth fan is pretty loud because it moves so much air. So I think if I turn that on, you probably wouldn't even be able to hear me. Plus, I'd have to remount the camera and everything because it's directly behind me. How would it look more impressive mounting on the side? No, I think holding it in his hand would be more impressive, I think. So that's why I was figuring that's the way you would like it. Mounting on the side. No. See here, I'll show you this picture. This is on the box art. Okay, so if you look at the box art, that's mounted on the side of the arm rather than holding it. Or you could do it this way, holding it in his fist. See, I think that looks better. What do you think? Definitely holding it. That's what I thought. I figured as much. So we'll figure out how to take care of all the seams on this hand and make it look good. I probably won't have to be cutting the finger off. I'm just going to have to build it, because what you have to do is the fist comes basically in two halves. You've got the entire handle here. So you can see what I run into if I try to mount this. It runs into the finger, but I've got to basically assemble the hand around the trigger. So it holds everything in place, but then I've got to address those seams and paint everything separately as well. So it's not impossible. It's not hard to, it's not exactly hard to do, but it's a little bit more of a process, I think. All right, so let's do some glue in here. So this polycap goes in. These are directional. Notice that quite a bit with this kit. Everything is definitely directional. Let's get some glue out. Gotta have that aggressive combat stance. Yeah. What's up, Lou544? How you doing? Welcome in. Thanks for joining. I appreciate each and every one of you. So what you working on tonight? So I'm just going to touch these pins here a little bit where these go. Get this. What I like to do is get these halves fairly close together, not entirely touching, but I want to get it as close to the gap. Okay, so pretty much like that, where there's still just a tiny little gap. And then we'll load up that seam fairly liberally with some glue. I'm going to do the same on the bottom. And what this will do, most of you experienced builders already know, is when I squeeze this together, it is going to kind of ooze out that seam. This just makes it easier to ultimately get rid of that seam line at the end, because I won't have to do any gap filling. I should just be able to sand it down, call it a day. Now there are some really fine panel lines that go across this, but I will be able to redo those, or at least rescribe those once I get it to the point. Okay, so those two halves are together. I have been, and in some cases I've used these little clamps, but you have to be careful when using these, because sometimes they apply so much pressure that they'll kind of distort and cause the two halves to deflect kind of sideways and not close straight, and then ultimately that could be an issue. Then you have an even bigger seam to deal with, because so what I'm going to do is make sure when I do clamp this that I don't see that shift. I don't see those pieces deflecting off, and that way, if they do make a slight adjustment, just to get even pressure, so those two halves are nice and close. What's up? We got Blackheart. How you doing? Use a zip tie. I guess that would work, especially on something round. It's a very good idea. Mike here is a very skilled model. Thank you. Thanks, Nigel. I appreciate that. Robotech is my favorite anime. Uh-oh. We're going to have a talk. No, I'm kidding. I'm a product of the 80s, where Robotech is what introduced me or got me into Japanese animation. Although here it's called Macross, or at least the original was called Macross. Robotech is the American TV version, where they basically cannibalized three entirely different series that had nothing to do with each other and called it Robotech, but really you had Macross, you had Genesis Mospeada, Genesis Climber, and you had what was the third one? I guess it was Southern Cross, I think it was called. But yeah, the U.S. market kind of butchered all that together. But anyway, no big deals. All right, I got some more pieces to trim off here. Same here, product of the 80s. Yeah, well, if you know about Robotech, you probably were. Just saying. Okay, G2. 6 and 7. Okay, so yeah, this is like the center. It's also the ejector for the ammo ejector. Okay, so there's a couple little parts here that are going to stay on the runner, and these are for that strap I was talking about, that shoulder strap that's just going to be dangling. They go under the belly of the gun pod in the front, and then this one goes on the heel. I'm not going to cut those off because there's really no reason to do that right at the moment. I'm going to have to, because what you've got to do is take this little, this is the actual strap, and it's a piece of, I guess it's vinyl, but you've got to puncture some tiny little holes in the ends of it, because one end goes in the front and the other one goes on the heel. And once I get to the point where I'm ready to put that on, I will just kind of hand paint those pieces individually. Since Giovanni doesn't want any weathering or any pre-shading, essentially, so the painting portion will be slightly simplified, only because I don't have to do an extra step of pre-shade. It's going to be primer and paint. Everything's going to be very clean. All right, so let's put this. We got a poly cap that goes in the center here, and this is for that, to allow that the tail section of the gun pod to extend, but have a little bit of surface tension in there. What is Ultraman saying here? Am I missing something? Sorry, guys. I try to keep an eye on this. Never watched the original versions of the 3 shows, but I do intend to watch. I intend on watching them at some point. Yeah, you can find the movie. I would find Macross Do You Remember Love and just watch the movie. It's amazing when they updated it and actually did the movie version of it. I think the movie version was by far better animation than the original series. Of course, there wasn't, we're not talking about however many episodes. Obviously, it's when you're doing a pretty huge production like that, the quality sometimes tends to slip a little bit when you're doing a massive amount of episodes, like a whole storyline, rather than just a 2-hour movie or an hour and a half movie. Whoa. Get me glue. Almost, I dropped that. All right, so we're going to, these 2 pieces I can see will definitely probably deflect if I put a clamp on them. So I'm just going to eyeball this and make sure it's nice and straight, and then I'll leave it alone. So anyway, whoops. There are plenty preview Macross videos on YouTube. That is true. Started with Gotcha Man, the Battle of the Planets. Yeah, it was shown in West Germany on the Armed Forces Network. Nice. That's very cool. What I loved about Robotech was the music. In my opinion, it was great music. Well, true. And I got in trouble once for actually complaining, like, I wish they would just stop singing all that much. But then I realized that's what the whole series is about. The whole thing of Macross is about preventing or fighting wars with using music, as the ammo. Here, see, I'm just looking back on these first 2 pieces, and I want to make sure these were actually starting to they did start to shift a little bit. So I took the clamps off. Now that the glue's been there long enough, I can leave it alone. But I think I might wait. There's the tip of this goes in just like that. Well, I guess I could glue that on. There's a seam line I got to take care of, but I didn't want to mess this up too much. But I think I'll be all right. So I'm going to take out this nib. There's only one. All right, and then we'll put this piece on. Let's go down here. No dirt and grime. Well, no, that's Nigel. That's the way he wants it. This is a commission project. The client wants no weathering, so that's what he's going to get. Oh yeah, Voltron. I remember Voltron. Star Blazers. Yeah, another great series. Got more Macross because of this channel. I got into Macross because of this channel. Nice. I'm glad I could help. I do have a love for Macross, even more so I think than Gundam. It's funny that I think about it every now and then. Maybe I should have come up with a different name, but I was trying to come up with something that sounded like a play on words. It was like Pandemonium and Gundam in the same thing. So Gundamonium. Well, that's why I came up with Gundamonium. So basically Gundam Chaos, essentially. So that's where I came up with the name. But the funny thing is, it seems like I build more Macross than I do Gundam kits lately. But I still have quite a few in my backlog. So I'm just finishing up this portion here. There should be, I think there's a notch that I have to. Oh, I keep dropping this. Okay, there it is. I knew there was a notch on this that has to fit. Gosh darn it. I keep dropping things. Sorry, I'm getting down and missing comments here. Has the live action Gundam movie ever been released? No, I don't think there is a live. Only you get a little bit of taste of that in Ready Player One, but just in the Netflix series, but not really live action, mostly just still animation. Right, that goes on just like that. There's enough surface tension on that I'm just going to squeeze that together. Okay, we're going to let that sit for a second. And then we can, I guess we can assemble this just to kind of show everybody what it looks like. All right, let me see if I can get down to these comments here. Nope. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I missed a lot here. Not even. I wish I could do live action. Battletech. Yeah, Battletech was they robbed a lot of their designs from Macross. Live action Battletech would quite hardcore. Yeah, could be. Please no live action with the Western belief in modern audience just be ruined. Not really. Someone just has to do it right. That's, I think, that's ultimately, you just have. Oh no, did I miss something? No, I didn't. So this goes in like so. And then these two halves come together. So that goes, okay. Thought I missed something here. Just talking too much. So this is going to take a little bit of glue. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to try to get these seams to come relatively close together. And then we'll flood that with some glue. I'm just going to barely squeeze this just to get it close. That way when I do squeeze these together, it'll squeeze out and give us a good bead. Again, even though there are pins to line these up, sometimes they don't quite line up correctly. So it's nice to go back and just give it a little bit of a turn just to make sure everything is straight. There we go. All right. Netflix, where what was saying? Netflix are working on a Gundam movie. Didn't get stopped. I don't know. I was thinking of Requiem of Vengeance, but that was not live action. Live action is Battleship Yamato. It was really good, I thought. Yeah, it was. That was interesting to see too. See that come to life. But all right, so just how this works here. This is going to. This will go into the back here, like so. Interesting. So that doesn't move. Nor does that. Huh. So I guess you're supposed to just be able to take this out and then slide these two together. So if you don't want... Funny thing is, it doesn't show... You're supposed to be able to... It looks like you're supposed to be able to slide these together and have it open like this. Or if you wanted to close it up, you can just separate the two halves and then slide it together like that, and then you've got it closed. But to me, that just doesn't... It's very, very uninteresting. So we're going to assemble it this way. But for now, I'm going to let these pieces cure because we're going to have some seams to deal with. So that's what it looks like. Fully assembled. Giovanni has also said he wants the UN Spacey logo to be readable. It's a common point of discussion with Macross kits, because when this is in fighter mode, basically the gun pod is inverted upside down and it goes under the belly of the plane. So you would naturally have the writing be legible in that form. And then when it's held in hand, it's turned upside down. So I always ask the people that, if I'm doing this for someone else, like, okay, how do you want it? Do you want to be able to read it, or do you want it to look like it would be if it were a real aircraft, or do you want it to be visible in a way that you can read it while he's holding the gun pod? And so he wants it legible. So that's where we're going to build it. So later on, we'll have that strap goes from this little hole here, and will come in and then goes on. You see this little pin in the back. So the strap will hang down and attach through here. And that's what that back cap is for. That holds it on there. And then there's another little pin that holds that front piece on. So I've got to punch a tiny little hole in that strap. Okay. So with that, we're going to set this aside. So now we're going to try to tackle this. Don't need those yet. Upside down. Yeah, see. Depends on who, depends on, it's all personal preference, really. You hated the end of the live action Yamato film. Everybody dies because of Jedi spirits. I'm going to have to watch that again because I don't remember that ending. The CGI, yeah. You talking about the Netflix version? Yeah, it was CGI for sure. I built a few of these. One side is upside and the other side is upside down. I gotcha. Yeah, just, like I said, it's personal preference. Okay, so we've got this little... What I do have to do first is there is a nub on the front of this canopy. So I'm going to take that down. It was actually already broken off of the runner, at least this front one. The back, there was another nub back here, but it was just a terminated piece of the injection. It wasn't actually attached to the runner, so that one was easy. But this one was already snapped off, so it kind of gave for a very rough little piece there. I had to make sure I straighten that out. For this one, we'll just give it a quick. Shouldn't take much. There we go. All right. So for the first going to see how the 600 works on this. And I mean, right away, you can already see if it focuses. You can see that line show up even more just by doing this. Now I'm going to try to minimize the amount of sanding across the top of the canopy. I don't need to go sanding way down here on the sides because that's already nice and clean. So I'm trying to keep, that's why I folded this in half, because I'm trying to keep the sanded surface to a minimum. That way there's less to clean up later on. So I'm going to go over this until I've got a nice, until that line disappears. And then all we've got to do is polish it out until we don't see any scratches anymore from the sanding process. So if I can't get what I need, the results on the 600, I'll have to go down to 400. But it looks like I can get there with 600. I just need to go a little bit longer. Yeah, especially in the back here, I've already gone through that ridge. So now it just looks like, you know, fogged or etched glass because of the scratching of it. A little bit here at the end, right where the window frame starts and ends. So I've got to, I might need to go across this. This is okay because this is going to be painted. So I'm just going to use my stick and go a little bit deeper just on the frame. Gotta go. Okay, Nigel. Talk to you soon, bud. Thanks for popping in. Always good to see Nigel coming to you from New Zealand. All right, so I think we're good in the back there. Now let's just go over the middle. It looks like these panel lines are deep enough that I'm not going completely through them, because you can still see the two lines going across the top of the frame. And once those disappear, then then those panel lines are gone. So I didn't go back and rescribe those. I think we're okay just leaving it alone. As I go through the process, though, I may need to, actually I might, now that I can see them real well, I might actually take my scriber, a very, very thin one. I'll probably use the 0.125, no bigger than the 0.2, and just go over those really lightly just to make them slightly deeper. That way, as I go through the different grits, I don't completely sand those panel lines away. I want to be able to see them so I can mask it and paint it properly, because that's part of the frame, the window frame. Almost there. A little bit more right on the top here, and then a little bit more up front. Looks pretty good, because I think once I start going to the other grits, the higher grits, I'm going to start, if there is any resemblance of any kind of a line there, it's going to go away with those other grits. Okay, good so far. You can actually see a little bit back here, so. Okay, again, on the frame up here up front, just very lightly controlled. I don't want to get into the glass portion of it. I just want to scrub down that top part of the frame. There we go. And then I've got this is supposed to be 400 grit as well, but it actually polishes like a 600, so I'll just give that a little bit of a brush across, and then even back here. I think it's good though. Okay, one slight little bit right here up front. Let me get the thinner. I've got a 600, but the thinner one here. This will give me a little bit tighter. because of that ridge, I'm having trouble getting it. So I'm just going to use the edge of this. Just take down the very, very front of that line. That line is right at the frame. Just using the edge of this. There we go. Perfect. All right, now you can see one tiny little bit right here. We'll show you where we're at with this. Okay, so there's the first step. So you can see clear on the sides, but still a little bit. Now you've got this gray sanded area. Whoa, that was weird. It just locked up for a second. My video froze. Everybody okay? Everybody still there? Everybody still with me? I know the weather's been kind of crazy out here. It's been blowing like mad. So with that being said, if we do lose power, sorry, but I have no control over that. All right. So now we're going to go up to 800. So here's the thick 800. I've got a thinner one here. We'll start with a thinner one. Thinner ones I can just fold a little bit better. And now we're going to do the same thing. But each consecutive layer won't require as much sanding. Now that I've gone through that, we've gotten through that line. Now it's just about polishing the plastic, making it clear again. Okay. So I'm going to do this. As we do this, my sanded portion will get wider and wider because we want to make sure we overlap those edges. Otherwise, it won't get rid of it completely. Okay, now at this point, I'm going to take my 0.125 chisel and I'm just going to very carefully scribe. Now that I can see where they're at, because it's still full of dust. Now, I do recommend you might want to actually use scribing tape. I'm doing this by hand because I still have enough of a groove there. And I'm applying such little pressure. I'm just trying to get over those two lines. All right, one more pass on this one and we should be good. Okay. Chisel discipline, boys and girls. Still here? Oh, well, good. Oh, you good? Okay, everybody's saying they're good. Yeah, for a second there when I looked up, it's like the screen froze for half a second. I was making sure I still had internet. You know, last time it happened, I was able to just reboot the computer and. Okay, now I don't know if you can see the difference, but it's still obviously foggy. But it does look it's starting to get clearer and clearer as we go up in these grits. So we went from 600 to 800. Now we're going to go to. I don't have anything in. I've actually got. This is 6,000. I think I might have 1,000. Let me see if I've got something in between because it's kind of a big jump between from 800 to 6,000, or I've actually got a 4,000. So I could go to that. Could go to 4,000. Let me see if I've got anything closer to that. Nope, that's 10,000. That's even higher. I got the balancer. I can use the balancer. No, oh, there's my pen. Huh. I knew I had a pen that I needed over here. All right, so, gosh, I'm just dropping it. could just rid one of those bins here, but I found that's another 600, but it's just a thin one. I don't need that. Okay. So get the thinner ones here. I got a few. Looks like I'm gonna have to go with 4,000, and that's okay. As we get closer to finishing this, it's going to be just faintly, there's going to be just a faint little bit of a little discoloration on the lens. And this is 4,000. I'm going from 800 to 4,000. So it's kind of a big jump, but you're going to see actually quite a bit of difference between what it looked like before and what it looks like now. So I'm not even worried about, even though I was trying to keep that sanding border to a minimum, with these higher grits, I can overlap those edges and be fine with it, because there's really nothing. It's not going to be much. There's not going to be any scratching or anything left behind by this stuff. Now it's just about polishing. Okay. So now you can see we're even getting a little bit closer. Still discolored. When I say discolored, you should view Gundam Mooney Works' older videos. Is with a few Macross kits. Oh, thanks. Actually inspiring me to build this one. Nice. Well, I appreciate that. I'm glad anytime I can help inspire somebody to do something new. That's cool. All right, so I'm going to move up to the 8,000. And you really can't even really hear any sanding going on. It just sounds like just rubbing across the surface now. You can almost get away with just leaving this alone at 8,000. I mean, it's almost polishing this completely out. So once I get to the compounds, and we start actually using the compounds on this, we should have a result that looks like factory clear. You shouldn't see anything left. So now we're at 8,000, and I'm doing the edges mostly now. We've gone over the center. Now I'm trying to go down and make sure I get all of those, where I haven't gone over the edge. I want to get all those scratches out. Gosh, this is almost clear already. I mean, this is at 8,000. I'm going to still hit this with the 10,000 even. Okay, so let's look at this now. Almost there. I mean, it's actually really, really good. You can still see our panel lines. It's good, so we'll be able to mask that off nicely. I do need to pay attention to the front of this, though, right where that front frame comes around. That's where the hardest part is to get in, because there's actually a ridge there from the frame. So it's hard to get these sanding sponges into that edge. So I've got to go or pay special care for that part and go a little bit further forward. Once we're done with the majority of this, I can go back and focus on that front piece. So the front portion, it looks pretty good though. All right, let's go to 10,000. Let's see, do I have? I thought I had a thinner one, but I think it will be fine. All right, so now we're going 10,000. So we're going to see quite a bit of a difference here. 10,000 should do the trick. Yeah, I hope so. It's nice. I'll check it out. I've built 4 Valks so far in the Battleroid mode, Skull Squadron. But in the Do You Remember Love paint schemes, of course, that's my favorite as well. If you go really far back, I don't know how far back you can go, but it might even be way before I started the channel. I used to belong to those Gundam guys in California, the same guys that are putting on the competition this Sunday, SCGMC. I built a launch diorama with a 1/48 scale launch arm, and I did it on a dare. Really, there was somebody that told me that it couldn't be done. The Valkyrie was too heavy, and I said, "Watch me," and I actually did it. And I was fortunate enough to go to a Macross Worldcon in 2016. It was one of the last ones I went to before I moved. It was like the day before I moved up here to Washington. It was the last event I was able to go to in California before I moved. And I met Mari Ajima there. She's the voice of Lin Minmay. She was singing and doing her thing, and I got her to sign it. So I have her autograph on it. I almost got Soji Kawamori. Soji Kawamori? Is that his name? The Macross founder, creator at Anime Expo. But he ran late on his panel, and I had the whole model there and everything, and I wasn't able to get to him for him to sign it. I wanted to get both signatures on it. Wow, that's almost perfect. I mean, I'm not even sure I need to use the polishing compounds. I'm going to, but there we go. So as I roll that back and forth, I mean, especially with the dark background behind it, I mean, it looks really clear. Looks really good. But we're going to use the compounds anyway. So we've got 3: coarse, fine, and finish. I'm hesitant to use the coarse because I'm not sure I need to. I might be able to get away with just using fine and finish because it's already so clear. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to start with the fine. And they're in tube form. It's kind of like the same thing they send those, like to me a putty in. Stuff is really, really good. You still have the IG account? Yes. What's my username? Oh, you're talking about Ultraman's or mine? I have all mine under Gundam Works. So if you're talking about mine, all my platforms are all the same. Oh no, oh no, it's not. Okay. I thought maybe it was dried up, but it's not. It's just kind of gooey. It is a little bit hard. Still paste, which is fine. But I just gotta work it out. It's been a little bit since I used this stuff. All right, so I'm just going to take this. Just going to I had to use the stick here to get in there, but I'm just going to put it down the middle where that line was. And then I'm going to use my microfiber to polish it out. See if I can get some more here. Hopefully this didn't dry up on me. I haven't used it in a while. Doesn't feel like it wants to come out. It feels fine, like the tube feels good, but it's like right in the front here is a little. Yeah, it's okay further down, just a little bit thick out here on the end. So I got enough on there. I think we're good. Try to keep the caps on there nice and tight, but it's just flat in there. There's nothing to go inside the tube and kind of keep it preventing. Dynaflash. Wait. Ultraman 2020. You still? Yes. Dynaflash. Okay. So you guys are exchanging info. That's fine. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my microfiber, just kind of dab this and polish it back and forth. Now it's going to soak into the towel, but that's okay. You can keep going over it. Yeah, I think it was a good choice to go with the fine first. I don't think we needed the coarse. The coarse would have kind of fogged it up a little bit like it was when we were sanding, maybe around the 800 or when we go after that, we went to 4,000, one of those two. All right, now that I've done that, I'm going to take a clean portion of the towel and just wipe this off. Gosh, that looks amazing. And then we're going to we'll do the finish, and that will really finish this off. So now take a look. And no line at all. Okay, so that was the fine. I'm going to put this one back. Kind of disappointed that it's a little bit thicker. I mean, I can still get what I need, but it's not something you use every day, so it's hard to keep it fresh. You know what I mean? All right, let's put that back, and now we got the finish compound here. Yeah, this is, oh shit. This one's not this one's not dried up. I squeezed it and it just came flying out. So what I'm going to do then, so I don't waste, I'm going to waste a lot of this, unfortunately. And I'm just going to take some of this on my stick here and apply it. Yeah, it's like, oh, it looks dried up, and I gave it a squeeze and it just came shooting out. It's like, nope, it's not dried up. That's for damn sure. I don't know why that other one did. Oh well. Sorry, I gotta waste this. I hate doing that, but oh well. Live and learn. All right, so we'll put the cap back on this real quick. I'm gonna grab another towel. 1 second. That one was kind of used up with paint and everything too, so. All right, so now we've got the finish polish on there. We're going to do the same thing. Just going to pick this up and start polishing this out. And it's okay if it gets all over it. It's going to, it's going to get on your fingers or whatever. Depends on what you're trying to do. This is a relatively small canopy. Go back over it, clean everything off. All right, and I think we're good. So let's see if I can bring this up as close as possible here where you still see. All right, so now there's no more line. That line is gone and it looks crystal clear. You're not kidding about the line. I was just looking at that. Are you talking about one of your kids? Yeah, thanks, Ultraman. I know it does look good. This stuff is worth its weight. I mean, it's worth getting. A lot of times you can find a 2-pack of like the fine and the coarse, and then you have to buy the finished compound separate for some stupid reason. They don't have like a 3-pack of it. It would make more sense, but I did have to buy it that way. I think one was in a 2-pack, and then I was able to buy the finished one standalone. But yeah, now you can see that canopy is ready to mask and paint now. See one more time here. See if I can get as close as possible so it'll focus. Yeah. So yeah, no more line at all. Line is gone. Our panel lines are still there, which is nice. So now we can mask it properly and paint the frame. I wish they had a masking set for this. Some of my 148 Valkyries, I was able to find die cut masking sets for the canopy, and it was so nice. I mean, I still have a few, and they're in my backlog kits for when I build those. But man, you talk about nice. It was really nice to have those masking sets and then just be able to peel them off and stick them on there and go. So he's always been nervous about using that material. Now I see there's nothing to be nervous about. Well, good. Yeah, it is. It can be a little bit nerving. I get that, especially the first time, because if you've never used it before, I typically just try to watch a video or something on YouTube. You know, that's what I try to do. If I don't know, if I'm trying a new product, I'm like, okay, somebody else has had to try this. Let's see, let's see what happens when somebody else shows you how they've done it or what they're using it for. And I used it on the F14 when I did the 148 scale Tamiya F14. I used that because the same thing. There was a line going down the center, and all of it seems like. I think the 148 Macross kits though from Hasegawa have a different molding process on their canopy, so they don't usually have that line there. But I can't be certain if I've had to ever eliminate a line like that on a 148. So, what to build? I don't have much left here. I guess I can cut these off. There's another runner here that has another gun pod. I suppose I can. This is the closed version. So I guess I can build both of these just to have them, just so he can have them, even though this is not made for this kit necessarily, but we'll see what they look like side by side. Wings? Oh, the wings are done. You're talking about what you're answering my question, what to build? No, the wings are done here. In fact, I can show you that these aren't glued together, but the top half is still separate because I got to do some painting inside here before I glue these two halves together. But those are all done. The gears are in. These have been glued and sanded. I might have a little bit of cleanup to do where the lights are to go in to make sure they fit properly. But that is all ready to go. All the leg pieces are on skewers ready for paint or primer anyway, because I got to make sure I go through and check all my seams and make sure that we don't have any additional cleanup that has to be done before I start painting. Usually the first wave of primer. It's never the last. It's always the first wave because inevitably you're going to have at least one or two seams that are going to show up or not be perfect. They look good when everything's just plastic, but when you put primer on, that's the first time you're going to start seeing any of those imperfections that require cleanup. I'm blind. No big deal. So am I. I'm wearing these. These are 2x magnifiers, and I've even showed these other ones off. These are from Micromark. These are eye adjusters. They've got lenses that move in and out with these little dials, so you can go from 4x or 0.5 magnification to 4x magnification. So now I get some really close details. I got to use those. But most of the time I end up just using the tubes. It gets me through the day, but yeah. Yes, I didn't get that one. This is a really shitty place to put a nib. It's like right next to where the front of that gun pod goes. So, all right. So these come together. There's not a hole. Gosh, it's even got raised grills on it. It's really a pain in the butt when they did it that way. I don't know why they didn't do that with this gun pod. I mean, this one's got the grills on it, but they're not raised, whereas this one has a raised grill. So I'm just going to hold these with my hands to kind of keep them separate so I can load up that seam with glue. What primer do you use? I'm using Vallejo Mica Black. Currently, I am using Guy Notes Black and or Gray. I've been finding that the Guy Notes stuff is really, really good. I started using their clear coats. A friend of mine turned me on to them, and so I started experimenting with those, and I was really impressed by the quality of the clear coat I could get. And then I tried the primers, and it was like really, really good. And even the black primer worked really, really well as just a pre-shade. I didn't have to use a black pre-shade after that. I could just use the primer, and that was enough. All right, so I'm going to squeeze these two together. Now that I've loaded up that seam glue. So this is basically the gun pod that would sit under the belly of the plane, I think. I don't think this would be mounted to the arm, because this has a little attachment where the handle would go that kind of jams it up in there, but build it anyway. Doesn't hurt. Not sure that's directional or not. Yeah, actually, I think it is. It's supposed to be one barrel up. Let's see. There's 3 gun barrels in there. In the tip of this gun. Okay, there we go. That's closest. Oops. No big deals. We're not going to use this one anyway. It's not going to be made for this kit, so. Just see them side by side. So if this was together, without being open, see, are they the same length? Well, pretty good, pretty true to form. Yeah, not too bad actually, pretty close. But again, we're not using it that way. We're going to have this piece in here first. This one right in there like so. Once that cures enough, we'll be able to sand those seams. So it has been a tough couple of weeks with this new schedule. Well, not really a new schedule so much as new teams at work, and just the type of work I've been getting is really, really kicking my butt. So here's the primer I'm using. This is the Gaia Evo Surfacer, so gray and black, both 50 ml bottles, but the stuff is really thick and requires thinning, so you actually get quite a bit out of it. As you thin it down, you're going to get quite a few bottlefuls of that primer. This stuff works great. And then the clear coats is, I'm using the EX line, Guy Notes EX, and I'm using the clear gloss and flat. This is just one of the, this is gloss. I think it's a 04 that's flat. But yeah, this stuff is amazing. Lays down really, really well. Especially even like the flat coats go down really, really smooth, and can't say enough about those. So, all right, what ratio to thinner? That's always a good question, because I'll put that on screen, because it depends. I stopped using ratios. Like, I stopped trying to figure out whether it's 50%, 50-50, or whatever. Oh, you never use those, huh? Nice. Ultraman says he's never used those. I mix them up, and I use, I've got some, like the wood stir stick from from Mr. Color, but I even use these guys to stir up paint. But basically, I look at how it drips off the stick. I can tell by how thin it is and how it reacts, how it drips off the stick. I can tell if it's the proper dilution. Now, it's not always perfect. Sometimes I got to add more thinner, and it depends on what it sounds like coming out of the airbrush. A lot of times, if you hear your airbrush whistling a little bit, that's probably too thick. But I mean, for beginners, it's, you might want to say like, okay, start with 50-50 and see how that works. But especially with paint, pigments, every pigment is different, and so they require different ratios. So that's why there's no specific ratio that I could recommend, because everything is a little bit different. Depends on how it mixes, how it reacts, how, like I said, how it drips off the stick. I can tell how thin it is and whether it's the proper consistency based on what that drip looks like, how it falls off the stick. And if it's too thick, it's going to cling. It's going to create a long string before it drips. If it just flies right off the stick, then it might be too thin. So I hope that answers your question, but it's kind of hard for me to say because I no longer use any kind of ratio. Mr. Color leveling thinner, yes, I do. Right here. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bottles in my backlog. A lot of it. When it was in short supply a few years ago, especially during COVID, that was when it was really short supply. So anytime I would see one in the hobby store, I would buy it. Even if I knew I didn't need it, I was like, I'm buying it. And I even actually sold some to some friends who needed it because they couldn't find it. 4-to-1 paint thinner, flow improver. Flow improver, huh? Never heard of that. Is that what brand is that? Is that another Mr. Color product? Because last week we were talking about this rejuvenator, which is good for paints that have maybe gone off and started to dry out a little bit. But the rejuvenator, you can pour some in and let it sit for a couple of days, stir it up, and keep doing that, and pretty soon it'll bring it back to life. Vallejo. Okay, is Vallejo, are they acrylic, lacquer based, or is it water based acrylics? I'm not certain with Vallejo. I haven't used much, if any, of their stuff. Planning on purchasing some of the different clear paint from Guy Notes. Yeah, you won't go wrong, I think, with Guy Notes. I think for sure. Oh, so when you say yep, I know I asked probably 2 questions. Huh? Is it water based acrylic? Is that what we're talking about? Oh, you go to Japan? Oh yeah, take advantage of that. Heck yeah. Be great. I need to go there. I really do want to go there. It's one on my bucket list. For sure. Oh, acrylic, huh? Okay. Water-based? I'm only asking because I really don't know. I think they are, but I really don't know. So they clean it with water. So you might take different, or they lacquer-based acrylics like Tamiya. Tamiya paints. Tamiya paints are acrylic, but they're, I think they're acrylic-based lacquer, or lacquer-based acrylics. I got that backwards. Got your start with Vallejo, so major user of it. That's good. Water alcohol-based. Oh, okay. So yeah, you might have to use different thinners. See, and again, the brand of paint too would probably take that into consideration too when mixing, because just depending on their chemical breakdown, how much thinner it makes it go. It just depends on what works best in the airbrush. 10th, your 10th time going? Damn. Did you just go this vacations, or was it business related, or were you military, or what? You can use Mr. Hobby thinner with it. Interesting. That's cool. I've noticed that too, because leveling thinner worked really well with Tamiya paints. And I used to use Tamiya exclusively for so many years. And then I bought my first Hasegawa Macross kit, and that was the 148 I was talking about, that launch diorama. And I bought, because Mr. Color uses all, Hasegawa uses all Mr. Color colors on their palette. So anytime you open up the instructions on a Hasegawa kit, you can go and see every single color that you need to build that kit. And that's what I did. I just bought a handful of paints, the Mr. Color line, and I just fell in love with them. They're so much more durable than Tamiya stuff. Only twice the work. The rest has been vacation. Only twice for work. Oh, okay. Oh gosh, that's awesome, man. Good on you. Yeah, that's definitely probably one of my bucket list items is to go see the life-size Gundam, depending on which one is there. By the time I get there, it might be different than the Unicorn, right? So, like I said, we're going to keep going on this. I've got to get some stuff ready for paint. I may have to paint these little lenses first that are on these skewers, so those can go inside behind that glass lens, and then I can sandwich the two together, and that's what these polycaps are for. Those are all for the forearm pieces, basically from here to here, to the elbow and the wrist. So, but I've got to sort out those lenses and those little light pieces that look like little emitters. Those have got to, the lights or something like that, those have got to go in first and be sealed up. So it's a little tricky, and it's every single kit is the same. They always have that little lens in there. I've even left them out. The clear part anyway, left them out because it just seemed like it was kind of pointless, and I don't remember ever seeing that in any of the anime. I always thought those lenses were exposed, not behind glass. But anyway, so tonight you guys got to see how to use the polishing compounds from Tamiya and sanding. They're using sanding sponges and going really, really high grits to get rid of a mold line in the canopy. I think that's probably the highlight of this show anyway. So hopefully next week we'll see what happens. If I'm going to try to prime some stuff, but again, this weekend's going to be kind of busy with all the festivities going on. Please post a link. What was this website for Mr. Color? Matching. Oh yeah. I think I might have had that saved in my phone. It's a little bit different. It's not very intuitive though. That whatever website is the same one I'm thinking of. Blackheart. Is that Blackheart? I guess that's Blackheart. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I'm really I apologize, but I did find a color matching website, but it was really kind of counterintuitive. Maybe it was just. Maybe I wasn't using it right or whatever, but it was hard to say, like, okay, which colors are which, or which, how do you compare this and that? It's post a link. I don't know if you can post links in chat. You can try it. Either that or you guys can message each other, just instant message each other or something like that. Mech9, is that the website? Mech9. Anyway, so we're getting ready to finish up here. I'm surprised. I was kind of worried tonight that I wasn't going to be able to do a whole lot for everybody. It might be an early show, but it looks like we were able to stretch it into an hour and a half like normal anyway. So, wait, who's that? Is that somebody else? Wow. Some people. Oh, that's the website. Okay. Take it, the link didn't go through. Yeah. I'm not sure if you can do links in the chat. So that's what I'm saying. You guys might have to just IM each other. But he said Mech9. That's where you want to look. Let's see. I can try to bring that up. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay, we'll go. Mech9 color guide. So there's Mech9 paint conversion. Is that what we're looking at? I think so. Yeah, mech9.com. Okay, so yeah, that's correct. It's mech9.com. It's a paint conversion chart. So this is not. I don't think this is the same one that. No, this looks different than what I saw before, so this might actually be better. Looks like there's quite a few ads and crap that are popping up, though. But anyway, give it a shot, guys, and see what you think. Oh, it's what you use. Cool. Anyway, let me go. Tons of kits and color matching. Perfect. That sounds great. So let me go back and just say thank you again to everybody who has chimed in the chat and hung out and talked and build along with me here. I'm going to go through the list here. I always try to do this. Quite a long list tonight. We had Nick in first, Julius in second shortly after that, and Ultraman, and then we had Giovanni, Julius again, and then we had Nigel pop in for a little bit. As we go on down here, I'll try not to miss anybody. We had Lou 544 jump in for a little bit. Talked about Robotech and Macross, Ultraman. We had Blackheart. See, I don't think that did I miss anybody after that? I don't think so. Again, I'm sorry if I did. I'm trying to name off everybody, but I'm kind of scrolling through this pretty quickly here. Juggernaut, that's Julius. Yeah, I think that's it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Tell your friends, like and subscribe. I always say the same thing. It doesn't cost you anything. It sure helps the algorithm out. And we got a few more subscribers this week. That's awesome. I appreciate each and every one of you. So we'll see you next week. And like I said, if I'm in primer or paint stage, we may end up doing a build night. Might not be associated with this build at all, but we'll see where I'm at. If I can get to a point where we can do some assembly or something like that after doing some paint, or maybe some parts completely painted. We'll put them together. We'll see how that works. Hopefully, don't need much seam fixing after my first wave of primer, but we'll see. That's usually the telltale sign. I think I'm going to use gray primer on this versus the black. I think the black might change the orange color a little too much. So I want to keep it light and bright, and so I think those colors will work best on gray. So, but we'll have to do the priming first, especially the cockpit, because the cockpit's got to be completely assembled and painted, and then before it's sandwiched into the canopy or inside the fuselage portion there. So that's a little bit that's got to be done first before we can put those two halves together. Anyway, we'll see you guys next time. Talk to you soon. Hopefully we'll keep going on this. If not, like I said, we'll pull something out of the backlog and build it. Interesting. Mine is molded white. Yeah, depends on the model. Anyway,